Today, I want to talk about one of the key things you can do as a cross-country skier or as a backcountry skier to get yourself ready in this late fall period for the winter. One of the big things that we miss out on in our activities of the summer, whether that be hiking, biking, running, or even if you're kayaking or maybe participating in other water sports, is that we're just using two limbs typically. Most of the time, we're just using our legs. Sometimes we're just using our arms. So, one of the key things you can do to get ready for the snow season, for those long days on the cross country ski trails, or if you want to get out into the backcountry, is to use poles. Using poles makes a huge difference in our aerobic system because we're obviously using all four limbs instead of just two. This makes a huge difference in the sport specific adaptations we want to make in our training. It's a simple thing to add poles or to grab a pair of our backcountry poles. If you're a cross-country skier, typically want those poles about bottom of the rib cage to armpit height, somewhere in that range. And there's a few different ways we can utilize the poles in our training. Number one, we can hike with the poles. We can go up a mountain, add those poles in, opposite arm and leg, just like we would be doing on skis. This is going to challenge our aerobic base system, help develop that sport-specific movement economy and the sport-specific endurance that we want. Two, we can run with poles. Talking about aerobic base work all the way up to really high-end maximal anaerobic work. Depending on what your goals are for any given session, you can grab those poles, you can run with them. It's going to keep you a little bit more upright, which is obviously good, again, for that sport-specific muscular endurance. We want a nice tall spine in our skiing. And we can do that all the way up to effort-wise, maximal sprints of 5 to 10 seconds, as quick as we can. And that'll develop some of that neuromuscular capacity. Third, a little more technical, is we can do some ski imitation, walking, or bounding drills. Right now, I'm going to talk about them for aerobic or anaerobic development. So again, we can use these for kind of longer aerobic intervals, maybe 7 minutes plus, going up a mountain, finding a nice grade where we can mimic the motions of classical cross-country skiing. We can add a little bit more pop. The Norwegians call this elghoofs. We call it moosehoofing often in this country, which is kind of just a literal translation. Or we can get into more of a power bound and dive into some of the more dynamic movements of classical skiing. The fourth thing that we can do with our poles is really think about the strength and plyometric component by just doing kind of one-off bound and hold movements. So we bound forward, we hold with those poles, stabilizing through our core, stabilizing through our hips and glute complex, and that allows us to develop maximal power and really sport-specific muscular endurance again. So to recap, we've got hiking with poles, running with poles, ski imitation, classical ski movements with poles, and then bounding and those plyometric movements with poles. So in this next month, November, think about adding those poles in to really get the most out of your training for cross-country skiing and for backcountry skiing as well. Training your body to use all four limbs and maximizing your winter by putting in the work in now.